their siblings there have to have something to eat or something to do or pay some hospital bills.
Yes.
They do.
Yes.
That's a real socialist way of looking at the community responsibility.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then at the same time, when they are here, we are working hard to get things go. We don't sit down and wait for somebody to throw money onto us. The majority of the foreigners, they really work. Then you can say, oh, what kind of work they do? Every work in this country is very important.
Yes.
So this notion of saying one work is more important than the other, I don't belong to that.
It's a question of having that work quantified, registered, and then to see how it contributes to...
Yes. That is also one thing one can try to do. But those are all these, when you have, the Danes use this over school, when you have satisfaction, then you also have time to start recording all these processes.
Yes.
For now, it's...
While you're suffering, you can't.
While suffering,
your priorities are
totally different.
That's
also why it's very difficult to get people to go out to vote, because people don't have the time just to look at it and see how important
There's a word, I can't seem to remember that word too, but I know all school in Danish, yes. But yeah, that's an important word. Okay, so... do you think it is important at this time, whether it is for being assertive or whether it is for appeasement or trying to find some kind of resolution or whatever, to make a distinction between being a Dane and being a Danish citizen? Because, I mean, if you were to come as an African and say, I'm a Dane, that rubs the wrong way. But if you say you're a Danish citizen, people understand it as, okay, you are in a technical situation. You know, you're technically.
These issues of what words you should do are recent. They are part of the recent process of how to.
But precisely because of that is why I'm asking the question.
Because in reality, we are all nationals of the world. The world does not belong to a single race or a single personality. So where we live in the time of space...
that has never stopped a war. Knowing that has never stopped a war.
No, but because we human beings, we are also full of these negative feelings that the issue of dominance. You know, it's somebody wants to dominate somebody. You know, instead of looking at human beings as equal. You know, so people create these issues to make it possible to create wars and to make somebody a subordinate of somebody else. You see? And that is also one of the issues, but that's more a question of the human being.
I'm thinking more in terms of...
Irrespective of where you are in the world.
I know, but I'm thinking more in terms of in this particular climate, at this particular moment in Denmark, in the shadow of the Paludans, in the shadow of the Pia Kjærsgaards, in the shadow of all these people, is it strategically plausible to actually pursue the argument of differentiating between being a Dane and being a Danish citizen? Because, I mean, whether you like it or not, claiming to be a Dane is going to bring reactions from most Danes, like, hold on, like, you know.
But then it means you have to have a clear-cut definition is what you call it. For me, the two words are synonymous.
Really?
Yeah. In my mindset, they are synonymous.
Okay.
So I can say citizen at one time, and another time I'm saying I'm Dane, but that's what I am anyway, because my characteristic today is very much influenced by the Danish society, which I've been living in for the last 38 years.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm influenced by that. I took all my higher education here. I've been working since I came here. I never stood outside without job. And I'm representing Denmark in some international or committees. So in what makes me different from somebody you would determine or you would want to call Dane and not me as a Dane. If I go to the meetings and they ask you, where do you come from? I don't say I am a Danish citizen, I say I am a Dane.
Okay.
Yeah. Because for me, that's why I say the two words are synonymous. They tell the same thing, you know.
Okay.
And it's very important we also put some element of attention to this notion of playing with words. We should always, it is not necessary that we always look at clear distinctions about things to make it a kind of opposite, you know. Things complement each other. The world is a world of complementary.
Yes,
and
I
that's
do
the
understand.
mindset I use. I use a lot of complementary mindset.
I do understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
I do understand where you're coming from. But you're going to have to accept that, for example, you are different.
No, I'm not different.
No, let me finish.
Yeah.
You are different in terms, like, from my perspective. You're the only person who has walked into this particular building and say, hey, hold on. This used to be the offices of, you know, so you have the history and knowledge of what's going on and this type of thing, which makes you in a way special. Now, being in that position, most people are not there. Most people are really ignorant of even the history of Denmark. Even there's certain things that you can bring up about the history of Denmark that most of the people who are going to be voting for Paludan and whoever, whatever, are not aware of.
No,
right?
but that's normal.
So,
but
so,
that is
I mean,
me as a person, because
and
I'm curious, and I always fight for developing my mind. So I put attention to things.
But at the end of the day, it's about winning votes. And if you can win the people who would win for Paludan, would it not make sense? I mean, wouldn't you want to get some of those people? You know what I'm saying? Like,
many of them, I don't meet them. If I actually meet them, they will probably end up voting for me anyway.
All right, look, if this was just a normal discussion, I would not push too much of my opinion in there, right? No. But now, you know, for me, I'm thinking, look, this is actually an election campaign. So I'm kind of like saying, you know, it's a very clean trick. It's not even a dirty trick. It's a clean trick. For me, it would be about being able to take those people who are potential Paludan voters. And I know that those people would really appreciate that somebody was actually thinking that, hey, there's a distinction between being a Dane and being a Danish citizen, because it matters to them. You know, you might not care about cheese.
No,
but they will say at a melmlauer and to you, if you say, no, cheese is cheese. But some people care about the quality.
See, it's very difficult for me to do that, because when I came here at the age of 25,
there you go.
Yeah, I worked on the farm.
There you go.
So I am a farmer.
There you go.
I did all that practical things that has to be done in a farm. I was plowing the field. I was cleaning the pig house. I was training myself to do that. I took the education of farmers. Right now, if I have enough money and I want to buy a farm, I can just walk and say I want to buy a farm, because the qualification needed to do that I have.
Yes.
That is my entering into this country.
Should we do that? Should we actually try to get a farm so that instead of our brothers picking bottles, we...
But that's possible if they want to do the work, because it can be a tough job.
Farming.
Yeah.
Especially these days. It's changed since the time that you came. I mean, it's not...
Yeah. It's not about the physical work itself. It's more the construction. The farmers are very... they have to use a lot of capital. That's also one of the things we don't know, but many people are not aware of. They have to use a lot of capital, so they are always struggling to produce at the lowest cost, you know? Yeah. And so if you want to do that, there's so many things. Of course, in the Danish society, you have the possibility of seeking knowledge through the established
channels.
But of course you have to pay for them. Farmers have to pay for them. Yeah.
Just out of interest, how much subsidies are there for farmers these days?
No.
Nothing?
No. But the Danish, what the subsidies you can talk about is the laws that are made to allow them to produce at minimum cost.
Yes.
That's probably what you can call the subsidy. But in the beginning, the Danish agricultural system was constructed such that the consultants who help farmers have been employed by the government, and with 2/3 cost, and then the 1/3 cost is the farmers. But these people, they are not working for the government, they are working for the farmers. So the farmers have a direct access to the consultants.
Okay.
So if a consultant is not good enough, the farmers can sack the consultant.
Okay.
And that is the basic difference when we are copying farm management styles. Your battery is off from Europe to Africa.
Yes.
We think it's the government who has to do it. Then we get government employees who have become kind of bosses on the farmers.
Yes.
Instead of the farmers telling them what to do, they tell the farmers how to organize themselves.
Yes, yes.
I mean, they make the farmers dependent on them, but in reality, it's them who has to be dependent on the farmers.
Haven't we had that attitude growing in Denmark, where politicians are so far removed from the reality of farming?
No, the politicians are not very far from farming. They know exactly what is happening. The Venstre party, for example, is full of a lot of big-time farmers.
Yes.
And the Radical has the small farmers.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, the creation of the Radical Party was from the Venstre Party. Yeah.
Okay.
That's where the name Radical came from.
They're just more radical than Venstre.
Yeah, they are radical in the sense that they said the old Venstre was not socially oriented enough.
Okay.
So they took, that's why we became social liberals.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And unfortunately, they use the word radical because
why didn't they just go social democrat?
No, because social democrat is built on the labor force.
Okay.
The workers in the factories, and they have a different ideology as to what the society should be like. And the radicals accept that people can be private and private investment, and then they accept that there must be social components into this. It's radical is a very much this economic theory which says that we believe in liberalism, but we don't want to give capitalism the full right over the whole nation. So when capitalism is coming to negative forces, the government has to interfere to regulate it. So that's the type. I mean, if you put it on a broad base, that's how the radical is constructed.
So just out
so
of
you
interest,
are full of teachers and small farmers and small business people.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So just out of interest, in general, because you say that labor Democrats are built on the labor. Now with the great mechanization, and you have robots coming into work. Does that spell the end of the social democrats?
No. Because these things are just development. If you, when these robots come, something else will crop up and people will still have to work. It's more the question is whether we are capable of educating ourselves to follow the trend of development.
And it's about
that's
the
why
wages
the radicals we are proposing this, that you educate yourself for your lifetime. So you constantly, there's nothing like I went to school, I'm finished, so I don't go to school anymore.
Okay.
You have to be improving yourself, And there is a policy around it which is built on that some of your savings must be prepared towards that attitude of educating yourself over your life span.
Okay, so now I sense, just because I'm more like into building bridges, I know that you want to be leaving soon.
Because I forget to look into the camera.
No, don't worry. No, it's cool. You don't have to look in the camera. Just feel free. And these are preliminary anyway, so bridge building. I better just do this so that we start.